And now on Who's Views, it's time for the latest headlines with JT and the Whotastic panel.
Well, hello, Who viewers. Welcome back to Who's Views. Yes, we're here yet again with a headlines show, and aren't they keeping us all busy? It's lovely to see you all in the chat. Hope you are all well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Lots to get through this evening in part two of our two-part spectacular. Goodness knows if we're going to get a part three. It's very likely the way they're going, I can tell you right now, because everything's kicking off. Because have you heard? Could Stephen Moffat be the savior of Series 1, Series 14, RTD2, Disney Who 1, whatever you're going to be calling it? NCUTI GATWA, yes, the Doctor Who Queen himself, is in the USA promoting the show. He's also got Millie Gibson there with him. And we really are very close to the launch of this thing, because as of broadcasting live, we've got 4 days to go. And yes, I really can contain my excitement. Bringing them on right now to the show, we've got Third Doctor Ian and we've got Paul. Hello to you two.
Hello there.
Hello, hello.
No, I can't wait. Yippee.
we are really not. Yeah, anyway, I want to say a big hello, first of all, and thank you to Frank C, who sent me an email, which I got this afternoon. Thank you for your email, Frank. I will get back to you very shortly, and it's nice to see you there. So thank you very much for joining us and for subscribing to the channel. Really appreciate it. But guys, listen, we're going to start now with some news that is breaking, apparently, allegedly, possibly, in the last hour. Because Paul and Garbage, who I know is in the chat, you two saw this coming along on social media within the last hour, haven't you? And oh gosh, if it's true, because I don't know if it's been confirmed by the BBC or Bad Wolf or Disney Plus, whomever, but what we've heard, or what you guys have heard and told me, is that in Series 2, Ruby Sunday is going to be bisexual. Yes. So who's surprised by this news? And you know what? I mean, this is just more. I mean, these people are obsessed with all this, isn't it?
They're obsessed with sex. That's what it is.
Well, it is. I mean, it's an obsession with representation, which gets on my wick, as everybody will know. And it's also an obsession with people's sex lives. I mean, this is very unhealthy. I think these people really need to, you know, I'm a bit worried about this, you know, with this obsession they have of people's sex lives, aren't you?
It's a bit unimaginative. And we've already had Captain Jack, we had Bill. Bill was a lesbian, you know, we've had all that. So why are we doing it?
Was she?
Yeah, apparently she was. I don't know where I got that from. I don't know. I'm reading between the lines, obviously. And then we've got this. But why? Why is it such a prominent thing? Who cares?
Well, yeah, I mean, I mean, look at Ian. Ian is saying it all there. And when you sent me this, Garbage sent me this more or less the same time, and I was looking at this going, I'm really not surprised, and I really don't care. What is sexuality? It's as though they think a person's sexuality makes the character and makes them more interesting. Yeah. We've had this before, haven't we, Who viewers? We had these rumors going around about whatever characters were in the 2018 series, where this was all going off in the TQI cult media, things as Penis News and all this sort of stuff. They were all raving about somebody in Doctor Who's going to be bisexual. Woo! I mean, big deal. It could come from the fact as well that there was a story that we haven't covered on. I was going to save it for the birthday show, but I can mention it now. Last week in an interview, NCUTI GATWA and Millie Gibson said that working with the new lady, Varada Setu, or Sethu, however her name is hot, in inverted commas. It's hot. So maybe it could have been taken from that. And again, label-loving fans have just got the wrong end of the stick, possibly. Who knows?
Possibly, but I reckon that, now you mentioned that, it'll be them that are having the relationship, no doubt, you know? Or they'll be attracted, no doubt.
Well, if they do all that, then I think there'll be a real backlash from the great British public. I mean, it's Doctor Who, and as I keep saying, it's not a soap opera, is it? You know, it's...
Or is it? Because that seems to be all that they can write.
He can write.
Yeah. It's just, let's throw something in that's original. Well, we don't have anything original, so let's just have somebody else that's fluid, shall we say, and let's just infer. Let's just stick another double bed in the corner of the TARDIS somewhere, and let's just infer there's a little bit of closet scissoring going on or something else. It's just so unimaginative, and it's so overrepresented.
Yeah.
And I've got no problem with equality, fairness, and everything else. And I know full well it must kill GATWA and Russell T Davies that they've got straight white teeth. But it's just so overrepresented now. It's ridiculous. They are trying to, it's like adverts on TV. They are trying desperately to show that the majority of families in Britain are a black guy and a white woman and different shades of kids, or that they're all black people. You know, God forbid they show the dying breed of a couple of white people in an advert that are perhaps, again, God forbid, married. And they're trying to do the same here. They're trying to say that these particular groups of people are way more represented than they actually are, because they're trying to control the narrative. And Russell T Davies is aiming for kids. He's said so. You've got to get the kids. And he's trying to convince them that this is the huge, huge chunk of society. And really, you probably want to be one too, you know, ultimately. And it's
what's it got to do with the sci-fi show, Ian? What is it? I mean, we went for 26 original years and then some, to be quite honest, with characters in Doctor Who just being made interesting through their relationships with each other non-sexually. You know, about whom they were, how they got onto a certain situation. We weren't actually really focused on their private. In fact, we didn't really see their lives outside. We very rarely saw their family or boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever, you know. Why? I mean, it's a sign of the times where we are. And I think you're right about the fact that Russell has said time and again, this is how he writes. This is what he knows. Well, he's not right for Doctor Who then, is he? Because Doctor Who's a science fiction show. Let's get him booted off. It's just ridiculous.
Should do exactly what you've been saying several times, in fairness. F off to Channel 4 and write the mega gay program that you want to do to follow on all the other mega gay programs you've written, because really you are a bit of a one-trick pony.
Totally. And coming towards the end of his career now, in my humble opinion. As a gay man, I don't want to see representation left, right, and centre. I'm getting bloody sick of that rainbow, and I'm getting really sick of seeing people that are supposed to represent me when they don't, i.e. all these youngsters that are coming up and these idiot lads that think they're drag queens. They don't represent me at all. I'll tell you who would represent me. Somebody that doesn't bang a drum all the time about it and just gets on with the situation. You know, because it's our private sexuality. It's a small part of whom we actually are, but they've made it their whole being, haven't they? Thank you to everybody that's in the chat. Let's see what they think about this, guys, shall we? I want to say hello and welcome to Duck Soup Productions, who's saying they're quite frankly off stake. Absolutely. Welcome, Duck Soup. It's lovely to see you. Lex is saying it's shocking. Hello to Stephen. Julia, it's nice to see you as well. Bisexual, who cares? Exactly. Who cares? Garbage is agreeing with you there. Paul is right. Who cares what they want to do to their things? Neville is saying to us, at this stage, I'd be more surprised if there was anyone straight in the cast.
That'd be refreshing, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it?
I think a lot of people would fall off their chairs if that ever happened.
Yeah.
Michael is saying to us, Michael Q, are you kidding me, JT? It's just what we've heard in the last hour, mate. It's just what we've heard. Obviously, if it's confirmed, we will be returning to it. John is saying they're sex mad Who.
Yeah.
End of Doctor Who. Oh, there's an awful lot there, isn't it? There's an awful lot. Mark, our resident Who's Views poet laureate, is saying to us this evening, watch Who's Views and you'll realize fairly fast this new era will fade into the past, just as proper Doctor Who will continuously last.
Beautifully put, Mark. Beautifully put. Yes,
I'm quite correct as well.
Yeah.
Hello, Jack. Nice to see you, Jack. According to reviews, Russell is already predictably and clumsily inserting his personal political messages into the shows. First 2 episodes, including the rolling back of abortion rights in the US. Now, thank you, Jack, for that. Just to let you know that the reviews for episodes 1 and 2 have started to come in. I'm trying to collate as much as possible, but at the moment, some of them just seem to be like they're on a drip feed, and they're not very impactful in themselves, which tells me an awful lot. We're going to compile some of them because on our birthday show on Friday, we are going to be looking at some of them if I can get them into the time slot. Yes, Paul.
I was going to say they're probably bot reviews, if you ask me.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah.
Simon, hello, Simon. Oh God, God, please, no! Just stop RTD, please. I don't care about the sexuality of the characters. I just want a good sci-fi story, heads in hand moment. It's not just heads in hand. It's also just oh, really? It's so boring.
Even if they had a straight person in it, I'm not interested in that either. I don't care about a straight person, a gay person, a bi person. No. Just let's have entertainment. Let's have fun. Let's have an exciting story. Sci-fi, Doctor Who, not this.
I absolutely do not care what instrument they put where, insert where, or where they put their face or their hands. I do not give a damn. It's not relevant to what this program's about. It never has been. It never has been. The closest it got to any of that was, we mentioned last night when he inadvertently made a cup of cocoa and ended up engaged, or Susan leaving at the end of Dalek Invasion of Earth, or Joe Grant leaving at the end of Green Death. Aside from that, the closest the Doctor's ever been to anything was like that was, oh, you're a beautiful woman, probably.
Yeah.
Just does not operate on that level, but it's just dragged down to the dirty, typical human, natural, earth-based crap that is in every bloody soap opera. And why bother?
Yeah, and it's all because, as we're saying there, this is what he writes. This is what he writes. We've got a lot to talk about over the next few weeks as we examine exactly what he's writing and how he's writing it, haven't we, Who viewers? Make sure you are subscribed to us. We'll be telling you a little bit later on about the birthday show and Who's Views reviews and all this sort of stuff, because we've got an awful lot of you in the chat tonight as well. Welcome. Thank you so much. Ian, you're winning the day with the joke Straight White Teeth, says Culture Bopper B-Hop.
Thank you.
There's a challenge for you then.
Good evening to Rob, who's joining us as well. Nice to see you, Rob. Nice to see you. Look at all this as well. Yokai63 is agreeing with a lot of you in the chat, and also myself. Doctor Who has been a soap opera since 2005. It's becoming more and more obvious, isn't it, really? And when you look at those original episodes, 2005 especially, even though I quite like the 2005 series, it was based around getting Rose home as quickly as possible, because that's what Russell thought. Russell thought, didn't he? Oh, this is what the public are recognizing. This is what they need now. This is the drama they have. And yet all the British public wanted at the time was, when's he going into space? When do we get to see a monster in space? It was brilliant. Duck Soup is telling us here, even JNT insisted that there was no hanky-panky on the TARDIS. And quite right he was too, because look at the minefield. It opens. More so today, because at least in the 80s, you had two genders and nobody was questioning them, for heaven's sake, but LGB rights were coming along, John is saying to us here, 26 years in sex was never mentioned. We don't need it. And I don't think we do at all. I can understand why in Star Trek they would insert some sort of sexualities, i.e. Captain Kirk. God love Captain Kirk. All this sort of stuff. Maybe even Picard. Ugh. But, it's that I can understand because they're human. And when there's humans involved with other humans, I get that. But the Doctor isn't human.
James T. Kirk had a girl in every port or every planet, didn't he? He was a bit of a tart, wasn't he, to be honest?
I quite like that about the original Captain James T. Kirk. I like that. He got the girl no matter what planet she was from. Good for him. Good for him.
He was doing the best for humankind, wasn't he?
She could be green and he didn't care, did he?
No, he didn't, because there were other advantages to those particular ladies. Jack Thursby is saying, serious question, could they get this more wrong? It almost feels like spiteful sabotage, like Russell saying, I brought it back so I can end it. I know what you mean, Jack. And can they get this more wrong? Well, time will tell, because we're 4 days from the launch of this thing on the iPlayer here in the United Kingdom at midnight on Friday, and of course at reasonable times in the rest of the world.
I'm beginning to wish now they had just stopped it after the Power of the Doctor and just left it at that. Left it.
Yeah. Totally. Bobby, hello, Bobby. It's nice to see you. Hope you are well. With Ruby being bi, I will put it as a rumor until we see some articles about it. Yeah. But because it's breaking in the last hour, we thought we'd throw it in at the top of the show. But if it is, if they do say anything about it, if this breaks, then of course we'll all return to it with some
gusto.
gusto. Yeah, that's a good word to use, isn't it? Oh, look at this. Rob is saying to us on 5 Live this afternoon, which is a BBC radio station for those of you outside the UK. Surprise, surprise. They reviewed the first 2 episodes and they prayed the progressive messages. Well, fancy the people at the BBC saying that, Rob?
Yeah.
Fancy that. Yeah, but that's the point that, the great point that Rob's making there. You are supposed to bend the knee to these progressive messages and go along with them, even if you don't necessarily want to, because you're then perceived to be the nice person we were talking about in yesterday's show. Do you know what I mean?
Are the robotic DJs as well on the B-bar? Are they robotic that they get just programmed to say what they're meant to say,
Absolutely. Oh, yes. But that's great. Thank you for telling us about that, Rob, because I would never hear that because I can't listen to the BBC radio. And it's, of course, the commercial stations that I listen to on radio don't talk about Doctor Who because they've got far better things to talk about, like music. I'm dreading these episodes now, says Stephen. Only now, where have you been? I've been dreading them since Christmas, kids, I tell you.
Well, I have seen a few reviews saying that potentially the first one may be a bit lightweight, shall we say. But yeah. What surprise.
Raymond, hello, Raymond. Aniran Bernard is straight. I expect he will be playing a white racist. I expect him to be as well.
He'll be a baddie,
yeah, he is. Apparently, he's playing some sort of corrupt politician who supported Brexit and all this, allegedly. And he's going to be in one of the episodes. I'm not sure which one he's in. And yet, Raymond, Aniran Bernard was rumoured to be up for the role of the Doctor. He's a cracking actor. He's got the look of the Doctor, as far as I'm concerned. I had money on Aniran Bernard being cast as the Doctor, so that went down the toilet. But, he would have been brilliant, I think. I think he would have been superb. But have we seen anything about him? He's a name. He's a big name. But he doesn't fit the tick boxing agenda, does he? So they're not selling him at all. He hasn't even appeared in the trailer. Why? Surely parts of his scene are ready to go into a trailer. He's a big name, but no, doesn't tick a box probably, so won't go into the trailer. Very disappointing. What else we got here? Yeah. What's some of this? Hello to Anima Mundi 641. Nice to see you. Radio Times only gave the first episode 3 stars, so it must be back. Radio, did they?
Really? Oh.
Is that out of 5, Anima?
10.
Can't be out
You're hoping it's out of 10, yeah.
I was going to say it can't be out of 10 because there'd be heads rolling. It must be out of 5, surely. Let us know, Anima, if you could. Was it 3 or 5? And why are you buying £4.50 a week on a magazine? Come on.
Well, maybe she looked at on the like we do, look at on the bookshelf and put because that's how you learn from us,
That's absolutely it. Yeah, that's what we're doing. And well, listen, the next one comes out tomorrow, so we might be back again before the birthday show. We don't know. We'll see what's in it. Julia, what is Julia saying to us? Thank you for that, Anima. We love you. Julia is saying, the longer this madness goes on, the more I'm agreeing with you. Paul McGann should step out of a shower and everything after him is a dream and get a sci-fi showrunner in. I don't know if I want him stepping out of the shower, but I would certainly reboot it with him just stepping out the TARDIS.
Yeah.
If Russell T Davies wrote it, he'd be stepping out of the shower and doing something gross with a loofah, wouldn't he? Let's be honest.
No, madam, yes. No. Blip, blip, blip. And Stephen is saying the reviews of episode 1 are averaging 3 out of 5. Okay, I personally don't think that's any good, really. Do you? I mean, that's them playing safe there, isn't it? By saying, we'll give you a more about halfway mark, really. Jamie Knight is saying to you, what are we whinging about today? What have I missed? At the moment, Jamie, all you've missed is that in the last hour we have heard that the rumor on the fan circuit is that Ruby Sunday is going to come out as bisexual in series 2. We've also managed from there to get onto the ratings. Not the ratings, what they called the critics' scores.
Yeah.
So that's all you've missed so far, but welcome to the show. Archibald Lazarus is saying to us, the Doctor isn't human, and so sex with him is creepy. I can't agree more.
Yeah. Well, apart from the fact he's 3,000 years old, wherever he is now, and if he's attracted to Millie's character, then she's 17. That's really creepy, isn't it?
What did they say about the whole thing in British press? Some of the tabloids said in 2005 when the Eccleston Rose thing was going on, a couple of them were uneasy because they were original Doctor Who fans as well. And they were calling this is the quintessential dirty old man.
Yeah.
you know, because of his age gap, because he was over 900 at that particular point. And goodness me, how he's aged over the last 20 years. But yeah, thank you very much for everybody for joining us. Really, really, really appreciate it. Archibald is saying to us here as well, resting the show would have many positives. We did talk a little bit about that last night, but I think most of us on the Whotastic panel are absolutely all in that boat now to be able to say, yeah, this needs rested again.
Yeah,
and we're not afraid to say it either, and that's including people like Kirsty and Garbage and everybody else. So, you know, Bedouia, Phil, you're going to get lots of that coming up in the next wee while. Thank you to Culture Bopper B Hop for saying you fellas deserve praise for having the stones to call out the cult. It's better than sitting on the fence just to get more views. Well, that's not my nature, mate. Not my nature, and I am invested in this because they're stamping on the rights that I helped to establish in the UK, and over my dead body is the phrase that we have over here. Jack, you're kidding me. Who's looking forward to the drag queen musical number in episode 2?
Yeah, not many of us would have thought. Yeah.
This is all going to come as a surprise to RTD, says Sam, who keeps saying there are no messages. We'll if there are, we're going to see them, aren't we? We are going to see them all, and we will all notice, and we'll probably all go, ugh.
Yeah, it's like there'll be a bloody neon sign telling you what it is. You know what I mean? It's that obvious.
Really? Yeah. Oh, well, look, Divine Dragon is also saying, Lord, is it possible these RTD misfires will actually make Chibnall look good by comparison? I think it already is. What do you guys think on that one?
I've been saying that for weeks now.
Yeah, you have actually, haven't you?
Yeah.
Just glitter on a turd, really. It's still a turd.
Same thing, different day, different order. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And Julia, thank you so much. I have had more fun listening and chatting with your channel than I've had with Dr. Who since Capaldi left the TARDIS. Thank you so much for doing that for us. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. Wow, because it's a big month for us this month. Not only are we going to be starting Who's Views Reviews, looking at all the latest shows that BBC Studios, Bad Wolf and Disney Plus are throwing at us, but it's our birthday month. More about that coming up in this particular show for you as well. Jamie is saying £4.50 got me a tin of stew and steak at M&S. Who can afford the magazine at that price? Well, at least it was M&S.
Yeah. Give me the stew and steak every time, Jamie. Thank you very much.
Not just any old stewing steak, but M&S stewing steak. And don't send me anything there, by the way, there, M&S, for promoting you there in any way, shape or form, because I don't like your pronoun usage and enforcing that on your staff, bringing it back. Well, Buck there. Right, so brilliant. Thank you to everybody. Keep your comments coming because we're now... Excuse me, pardon me, what's he saying? How very dare you? How very dare you? I'm 29 forever. And that's all there is to it. So we're moving on to our next story now. So as I say, there's only 4 days until this thing hits iPlayer at midnight on Friday. Bless. And of course, at a sensible time in the rest of the world. We will be getting to see it at 6 something. You should have been paying attention on BBC One on Saturday evening, as Disney has encouraged the BBC to show 2 episodes, haven't they?
Sure.
Back to back on Saturday night, and then we're going straight into the Eurovision. Oh, whoopee do, with our awful entry by Ollie Alexander. Please butch it up, love.
He could have been the Doctor, you know.
Oh, crikey, yeah. Awful. Please, it's nothing to do with us. Don't hold the UK responsible for that. Honestly, I'm very, very embarrassed. Anyway, so yes, this new series, he says, getting back to the point. Could the shining star of this next series be Stephen Moffat, who, of course, as we all know, is returning? This headline is from Digital Spy. Doctor Who's Russell T. Davies says fans will talk about Stephen Moffat's new episode for years. I can't wait for people to see it, says Davies. Now, this is the episode that apparently involves this, and involves the Doctor stepping on a form of landmine, with Ncuti Gatwa having said that the episode revolves around the Doctor not being able to move and having to solve the adventure from the landmine, and heavily relying on his brand new companion, of course, Ruby Sunday. Interesting Moffat-style premise for an episode. Let's get into the article. The new episode will be directed by Bridgerton's Julie Ann Robinson, and it is confirmed to be titled Boom. So that now makes sense, doesn't it? That title now makes sense if it's a landmine.
Yeah.
Speaking to Digital Spy, and I love this bit, and other media at a Q&A event for the world premiere of the new season, i.e. everybody, current showrunner Davis revealed details about the episode that Moffat has penned. There are some great monsters coming up, he said. I kind of want tension and those old-fashioned horror scares. Episode 3, which is called Boom, at the very start to that episode, the Doctor stands on a landmine and can't move for the entire episode, and that is absolutely a masterpiece of performance. And in terms of tension, it's just thrilling. I can't wait for people to see it. People will be talking about this for years to come. And in terms of tension, it's just thrilling. In March, Moffat teased details about the episode and spoke about the process of finding the right idea to return to the show with. Stephen Moffat said, when I was getting involved in the series again, I pitched several ideas to Davies. I sent several emails until I remember I sent one idea that I thought was dynamite. He gets his puns in all the time here, doesn't he, Moffat?
He does, yeah.
Really, really good. So we covered the premise of him coming back and the to and fro and all this sort of stuff, and then the not telling people and then admitting that it was right on a previous headlines. But what do you think about this? Now we know a little bit more about this premise, guys. What do you think a little bit more about this story? Could this be the jewel in the crown of this brand new version of Doctor Who?
The trouble is, as I said before, they hype these things so much and they're trying to oversell it too much. Rather than just coming to see it and watch it fresh, there's all this hype attached to it. And I think what tends to happen for me, I think something's overhyped. It never lives up to the hype. That's part of the problem. I like Stephen Moffat as a writer. I think he's really good. Some of his new Who stuff is some of my favourite episodes. But it's kind of it's putting all your eggs in one basket a little bit, don't you think?
Possibly.
I remember Moffat saying that in Asylum of the Daleks we were going to see every Dalek that had ever been, or every type of Dalek that had ever been, and it was all complete crap. And most of them were new series Daleks anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't believe a word he says anyway, but I'll wait to see. If it's good, praise, obviously, because we've said that. But I don't know. Tom Baker's Doctor stood on a landmine in Genesis of the Daleks.
Yeah.
And the scene was absolutely gripped with tension.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Harry backing it round and everything. And as the appropriate age, I was about 8 watching that. You know, I was like, I thought the Doctor was going to die. That really caught me. Let's see if this one does the same to similar age brackets, which is what they're aiming for. So I don't know. I'll reserve judgment, but like Paul says, they promise so much and it rarely, if ever, delivers. So, you know, jury's out.
I think the only positive thing about it is that it's not a Russell episode. It's a fresh writer like the ones coming out later on for Rogue as well. So I think at least it's not Russell again. So it gives a bit of variety, but it is still Stephen Moffat again. That's part of the problem, you know. But
because we do know that Russell T Davies doesn't really get involved, doesn't script edit Moffat's, and you shouldn't really, because at this point when they were writing, Moffat had written more Doctor Who than Russell T Davies, hadn't he? And produced it for a little bit longer as well. So, you know, and they've got that. We do know they're friends. They've got that respect there. RTD confirms, says Garbage, no one will talk about his episodes, only Moffat's. So speaking to an audience, in other words. Okay, at this point I want to say a huge thank you to both Garbage and Kirsty again for being in the chat, making sure you're all comfortable in there. So thank you both. Duck Soup is saying to us here, Moffat can't save it this time because new RTD is still the showrunner.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's back, says Jack. Can't this show ever move on to the next era with fresh creators? It's pathetic. Yeah, okay. Yokai is saying what you were saying there, Ian. Stepping on a landmine, it's Genesis of the Daleks. And hello to Barry Stroud. Nice to see you. You finally hit the 5th stage of grief, which is acceptance. Then RTD says something else. Yeah. Limekins, it's nice to see you. How did they get Shooty to stand still and not twerk for a whole episode? God knows. Maybe we'll get a whole Unleashed episode about that. And Phil's with us as well. Hello. Got you on in the background as I do a bit of painting. What did I miss? Well, we're just getting into the nitty-gritty, Phil. So nice to see you, though. Hope you're all right. And we've got here Lex. Looks like they've copied the scene of Tom Baker's when he had his foot on a mine from Genesis of the Daleks. There's an awful lot of us that, when we saw that in the original trailer, reacted in that way, didn't it? It was all very much a case of, oh, we've seen this possibly before. So it is going to be interesting to see how he's written this, haven't we? Moffat has said, Blueworm says, sorry, Moffat has gotten to be terribly overhyped. What do you think about that one?
Well, I think it's true. I mean, really, I mean, I was trying to go back slightly to the twerking thing. It might not happen initially in that episode. At the very end, that'll be the denouement. That'll be the conclusion. How it's all fixed by twerking, no doubt.
Well, if he's stuck on a landmine, he can't, can he?
Well, I suppose.
If only it was called Boom because the damn thing blew up. It'd be great, wouldn't it? No.
And he breaks wind at the end of it. That's how it's fixed, you know.
Oh. Yeah. Well, this is an episode as well, in case you don't know, that is not just filmed on a set, but it actually takes advantage of the technology of the live screens around them. You know, the big video wall screens that a lot of the dramas are using in this day and age. Most noticeably, The Mandalorian from Star Wars started off that trend. So a lot of them are now doing that. So it's going to be interesting to see what the visuals look on that particular one as well, you know. So we've seen some of the stills from it, haven't we? And it looks quite dark. It looks quite oppressive.
This is what probably described in classic Who and real Who was the this is the cheap episode, isn't it?
Apparently so.
Yeah. So
I don't know about that actually.
It might be. But
It might be.
relatively speaking, probably, yeah. So
Well, it's episode 3 in the stories that is coming up. So actually, it's going to be a week on Saturday for us here in the UK, watching it on BBC One, and of course, it's going to be midnight again next Friday on the iPlayer, and decent times at the rest of the world. So we've got not long to wait for this particular one. Let's see what he's saying in this. Jamie is saying to us here, I always like a Moff episode. RTD2 does have overhype issue though. All right. And Neville is saying it's a big feck off of mine. How did he manage to not notice that? It's a big feck off mine. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, Neville, won't we, about how that comes across, you know, and how he manages to step on this. And then we've got Stephen here saying, I remember watching The Monster of Peladon in 1974 and thinking then that the Doctor was going to die, which was a shocker. For him then to die a few weeks later in Planet of the Spiders. Oh, gosh, those were the happy days. Garbage is saying, boom, Jinx Monsoon steps on the landmine and saves the Doctor, and he saves the Doctor.
yes, go with that. Hope it's that.
Wow.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Oh, and Nathan's making an excellent point here as well. It won't work. To make tension, you need to care about your lead.
True.
That is true, isn't it? That's a very good point there.
And that's only week 3, you said, as well. So it doesn't give you much time to establish any rapport with the Doctor.
Well, actually, technically week 2, isn't it? Because they're releasing the 2 on the same day. So episode 3, week 2. So I'm not sure what's going to go on there. What's Douglas saying to us? Douglas is saying here, I hope it is good, but even if it is 1 good out of the 7 likely bad, it's still not a good ratio. Let's remember that, Doug. Douglas, remember what you're saying to us about that, because we'll be coming back to that as we get through towards the end, because we are going to be asking, what's the ratio? What do you guys in the chat think is the ratio? What was good? What was bad? How many? All that.
That's the thing. You've got so few episodes. They really should all be good episodes. They're not. You've not got a filler episode this week or whatever, or a Doctor Light episode this week or whatever. You shouldn't have to have that because you've only got 8 episodes. For goodness' sake, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
they don't have much room. They don't have much room to play with. I mean, when they came back in 2005, they had those 13 episodes, and they had that chance to build up the interest and also have a little bit of a mid-season relaunch with Dalek. Which worked really well. It really kicked it into momentum then, and which obviously carried the theme through to the final 2-parter. But you're right, 8 episodes, they don't have that opportunity anymore. And I think we've said before, haven't we? They should be looking at this as, would this Space Babies have carried the series if it had been the first episode in 2005? And if the answer isn't yes, then it shouldn't be appearing now. And I don't think it probably can.
I don't think it can. From what I can understand, it's about a light, fluffy episode like he used to do, but we've not really established New Era properly. So I think it's too early for that fluffiness, I think, to be honest.
It is an interesting point what you're saying about 8 episodes. When you've got 8 episodes, you think you would try and hit the ground running with something. And if I would have started with, I don't even know if that thing at Christmas, the Church on Ruby Road, did that and has helped that. Do you know what I mean? Because did that light people's fires about Doctor Who and this new Doctor Who? I don't think it did, really. I don't think the British public especially, and a lot of fandom were very interested in it at all, you know, because look where we are now.
I think it didn't help there's such a long gap between Christmas and now, really, because if they had gone with potentially straight on the back of it in January, it may have helped it a little bit, but I think it's too far a gap between, you know.
Yeah.
Then again, I mean, there's a couple of things. The media are always saying, "Oh, GATWA's here to make his debut." Well, no, he made his debut in the last of the 3 so-called specials, and then he was in on his own at Christmas. So technically, this is the 3rd episode he's been in, and that's not a debut.
Yeah.
But you look at Tennant, and Tennant was in Christmas in his Christmas episode, Christmas Invasion, and then the series for him started in the March. So, all right, this is a couple of months longer, but it was still 3 months, and he carried it, which, you know, credit to him at the end of the day. It's sadly a besmirched memory now with the thoughts of what came when he came back, but he carried it. And the fact that they're still talking about GATWA making his debut shows that actually he didn't make an impact at all.
I reckon you've got a point there, and I reckon, because I've noticed this as well when they're saying, "Oh, the new Doctor arrives, the debut, the new blah blah blah." I think it's because people just didn't tune in for Christmas. So what they're really saying here is, you can come into this one now. It starts all over again, and that's it. You know, you can really go for it now and start all over again. And people, please come and watch it. It's as though they're begging. You know, this is the first episode. You don't have to have seen anything else. Please come into the show. But that's just what I'm getting from it. Lex is saying to us here, feels very early to air Boom episode, as does not much time. Hold on, sorry. It feels very early to air the Boom episode, as it doesn't give us much time to get used to the Doctor 8 episodes. It feels like a cop-out. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Douglas is saying to us in response to what was happening before, "I'm not watching it, mate. That's going to be up to you. Thank you very much."
Thank you. We'll take one for you. It's fine.
Yeah. Blue Worm was saying, "I'm still saying that with the budget they now have, it's unforgivable to have bad writing."
Yeah.
It's a good point. It's a good point. And Duck Super is also saying, "I won't be watching the new episodes. Thank you for taking that bullet for us. Life is too short." Oh, I know. I know it's too short. Oh my God, it's an hour on a Saturday night. Oh, please. 2 on the first one. What's this from Stephen? The spoiler-free reviews are saying Space Babies is clunky and divisive, but the Devil's Cord is better. Time will tell. Really? I'm not sure. Michael is also saying here, there's an old saying no waste for the wicked. Okay. Thank you for all your chats. Keep them coming. Limekins is moving us on to the next episode, saying, "I've read, as well as the Beatles and the Devil's Cord, there will also be an actress playing Cilla Black." Yes, there is. And it's a Liverpudlian actress, Josie Sedgwick Davis, who's playing Cilla. If you don't know who Cilla Black is outside the UK, get ready, because you're going to meet her very briefly in this episode, but goodness knows what the episode's about. I can also tell you that in the episode, because it's set in the infamous Abbey Road studios, you're also going to meet George Martin. You're going to meet a tea lady. Now, the tea ladies were very important in there, apparently. And you've got various people in there, including playing himself, Murray Gold, Shirley Ballas from Strictly Come Dancing, and Johannes Radeby from Strictly Come Dancing, which we reported last year. We're going to be talking more about that on our birthday show on Friday. But it's all of those. But yeah, it's interesting to see that Cilla's going to be in the mix. But yeah,
I know who the tea lady is, but I won't say anything. So.
Yes, well, you can tell them.
Well, my impression, it might be lovely June Hudson, but I could be wrong.
I don't think it is. I think it's the woman that's cropped up in the Christmas episode and in one of the David Tennant episodes.
Okay,
I'll get all the details ready for that for the birthday show, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Because apparently a lot of people are saying that she's very important to this season and has been since the Tennant episode. We'll talk about that on our birthday show. What else we got here? Anima Mundi 64 is saying Davros Walking, of course, will arrive and save the Doctor from the mine to repay the favour from the Magician's Apprentice. Boom, boom, as Basil. Oh, Basil. I worked with Basil Brush once. Fabulous. Bit of a diva. But yes, that's the point. I'd forgotten about those mines in that particular episode as well. And they were proper weird, those hand mines, weren't they?
They were, but yeah.
That's proper science fiction as well. That was quite bizarre and very scary, wasn't it? It's just like, oh, that is great. But yeah, keep it all coming. Thank you very much for everybody there. So yeah, is Stephen Moffat going to be in the savior of series 1 of this? Time will tell, because it's not long now. It's going to be next week when we know that one.
It's quite sad for Russell T Davies that he had to rely on Stephen Moffat to save the show. It should be Russell that's doing the saving, surely. You know?
Well, we have to wait and see.
Yeah.
We have to wait and see, because, you know, Moffat writing one of the episodes, we really have to wait and see what's going to happen, don't we? Jamie Knight wants to see the Tea Ladies of Death. That's going to be a great story, that one. That'd be brilliant. And Stephen is saying, surprise, surprise. Exactly. And Duck's Up is saying to us, you mean George Martin will be played by a woman of colour? They missed the boat on that one. Yes, possibly, maybe. She had a fine pair of lungs, says Neville, about Scylla. She certainly did, and she had a wicked sense of humour, didn't she? So yeah, we're going to be talking more about Scylla though on our birthday show coming up. But that's where we're at when it comes to the Stephen Moffat episode. It'd be interesting to see what's going to be happening with Boom, which is episode 3 in this new series.
It'd be more interesting if Basil Brush was in it, wouldn't it, to be honest?
They'd never get him.
Yeah, it's too expensive.
He's out of their price ranges, Basil.
Too good.
Disney can't afford them. That's it. Yeah,
absolutely. And he's old school as well. He wouldn't have any of their nonsense. I can tell you that, having worked with him. Oh yes. Well, yeah. So listen, we're going to be coming back to that, obviously. But I'm actually tentatively looking forward to the Stephen Moffat episode. I do have to say, I'm quite looking forward to see that. It's strange that it's going to be episode 3. If it's as good as they're saying and that fans are going to be talking about it for ages, I would have had it further into the series.
Yeah.
To try and lift it up if we're all getting a bit sort of.
Yeah.
You know. Or then maybe he's put it at episode 3 because it is an exciting story and it's brilliant, and he's hoping that people will come and join it and then continue with the series. I don't know. We'll just have to.
But it might do that. I might go like that, up like that, and then straight down like that again. So we'll see what happens.
But would you not think, if it's so good, put it as your first episode? So those first episode reviews are absolutely amazing and make people want to watch the rest of the series and then find out the hard way. But, you know, because by episode 3, you might have found so many people have switched off. You want to try and grab them at your earliest opportunity. No?
Yeah,
but we're not dealing with people with common sense here, are we? We're talking to people whose lives are run more by labels and agendas and by messaging than actual reality. Let's face it, you know. Will Stephen Moffat, asks X-Man 577, bend the knee to the woke god? Didn't he already?
Yeah.
He is woke. You just have to look at all the messaging in all his stories, and especially through his era. He introduced gender swapping and all the rest. You know, that mega line that I personally had missed about Bill being gay. I'd missed that, but apparently he'd written it. So, you know, kudos to Paul for picking up on those references.
And I'm not very bright, you know, I have to say. And
But you look right back to Dr. Dances, you know, and that was, you know, there was the stuff about that, the inferences there. And unless I was very much mistaken, the guy that owned the house that the kids broke into to eat the food at the table and everything, did the girl whose name I've forgotten, great actress playing her, that was sort of like the mum to all the characters, didn't she have a stand-up argument with him and infer that there was something going on with him and another bloke? You know,
him and the butcher apparently were having it off. Yeah.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
So,
right back to then. But Moffat is woke. They all are.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of these showbiz people are, aren't they? They're all, you know, they're traditionally they're always left wing anyway, but now they seem to be extreme left wing as well, bending the knee left, right, and centre, and believing anything that people are going to give them. They don't seem to. They're so desperate to be part of the lovey brigade, aren't they? Because look what happens if you dare say anything which is against that. You get ostracized, you get kicked out of the club, you get called for everything, you don't get work anymore. Certain people will make sure you don't get work anymore. You know, it's totally bizarre. Hello to Richard, nice to see you, who's asking us, saying to us, let's see if Moffat's been Disneyfied. It bound to have been.
It's like
got
being
no
cybernized,
scribble.
isn't it? It's very similar. Yeah.
Yeah, they, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If he's been told, if he's been told to write something a certain way, they don't care. They're going to. And as Ian's pointing out, they probably all believe in all this nonsense anyway. Jacob, hello, Jacob. Looking forward to Boom as well. A refreshed Moffat is hopefully a good sign. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Because it's going to be very interesting when we come to review that particular one as well, which is coming up very soon, as I say, because we've got 2 to deal with almost straight away. And Squawk, for want of a better way of saying that, I'd forgotten it was on so soon. Thanks for reminding me so I can be out. You're very welcome. And have a lovely time, but don't forget to come back and see us on the review show. Mark is saying to us, what are your thoughts? In the UK, Ofcom regulates broadcasting content, including sexual content portrayal and discussion. Well, do they though? Ofcom are supposed to do a lot of stuff. It must be very difficult for them because they're trying to be in the middle. They're trying to stay neutral to all this stuff that's going on. And they're upsetting both sides, obviously, with various decisions and what have you. It depends on... I mean, we've got to understand as well that Doctor Who is now made for the iPlayer. And BBC One just happened to be broadcasting it. There are certain things they can't do. Is the 9 o'clock watershed mark still there, though? Because I don't see any evidence of that anymore. That responsibility seems to have disappeared.
I was going to ask that as well, because they'll be through by 8:05, you know. So, you know, that's interesting what the content may be, because it is pre-watershed in that context anyway, whether that still exists or not. So you think they would be having to censor bits, you know, make it less sexually overt, less violent, etc., because of family viewers, you know. But
what time was the Star Beast on? Can anyone remember?
It was so memorable, I can't remember.
If you can remember what time the Star Beast was broadcast on BBC One in the UK, in the chat, let us know, because that episode got very heavy on certain things, didn't it? Yeah. Was that suitable for young children? Not in my eyes. And I'm going to mention it again. The Cash Report goes against absolutely everything in the Cash Report, the Star Beast, doesn't it? And if it's all in this particular series,
well, as far as I remember, I'm sure it was on before. It was finished before 8 o'clock, I think. But
Mark is adding to that. Broadcasters must weigh harm, offence, content clarity, shock potential, and audience expectations before airing sexual content. They should do, but it's obvious that here they're not going to, are they? Because it's too... I mean, don't forget, nobody can stop him. He said that. Nobody can stop him now. And I think this also refers to people like Ofcom, Mark. He's not frightened of any of them. No one can stop him. We've got that. You know, we talked about that on a couple of our shows ago. I wonder how they'll spin the viewing numbers this time, says Jack. I don't think it's going to be about the ratings this time, Jack. I think it's going to be about the views on iPlayer, because it's going on to iPlayer first. It's made for iPlayer. All the publicity has been about for iPlayer, Doctor Who, iPlayer. BBC One has not been mentioned this time around on all their backdrops at the premieres and stuff. Oh, so I think it's all going to be about, oh, look, it's had 20,000 views in 10 minutes and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if anybody can remember. Hi, Lisa, what you're saying? Oh, thank you as well. Jacob's just told us Disney is banking on this becoming another Velma. It gets millions of hate watches, which means views are good or bad. The view count is all that matters in the end. You got a point there, Lisa. Velma, of course, is that spin-off or something to do with Scooby-Doo, isn't it? About and they turned her gay in that, didn't they?
Probably, yes. Yeah.
I don't know, because I've never seen it. I've never seen it here, so I don't know about it. But that's an interesting point. And there we go. Jacob is saying 6:30 with the 60th anniversary specials. Now we know. Interesting, isn't it? Thank you very much for everybody who's telling us that. Really appreciate that, because I couldn't remember. Not at all. Is that the Ofcom that upholds complaints when 2 people complain about BBC bias against the left, says Limykins? Well, it must be a very difficult job for them now, but I think changes are afoot with Ofcom. We'll see.
Yeah, it might be a difficult job for them, but they should still try, shouldn't they? And they don't seem to try. It's like they don't have the stomach for the fight. Yeah. They'll know stuff's not right. They'll know that the content is going out or at a time that's inappropriate or that's just inappropriate. But they'll not do anything about it. But something fairly innocuous, or you'll see a reporter on GB News, for example, or something like that, and it'll get one complaint and they'll go crazy and ban it.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem to be fair or balanced in any way. And they just seem to me to be lacking a spine, really.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of the reasons why maybe the changes are afoot when it comes to Ofcom. We'll be looking more about that when and if it happens. And the talent of Wen Chang is saying, it wouldn't surprise me if they amalgamate the ratings into the iPlayer figures and put them out as a single figure after 7 days. Yeah. It's also going to be interesting to see how the Disney views come along here as well, isn't it? I mean, they don't necessarily have to tell us because, of course, it's not a public company.
No, they don't.
They do have to publicise how many it gets on BBC One. And there, of course, the figures we're going to be looking at in the ratings game when we come to do Whose Views Reviews, because it's easier for us as well. But it will be interesting to see how they're going to start reporting the views and the figures and all this now as we move forward.
I remember when J&T used to say Doctor Who gets 110 million worldwide, you know. That's what's going to happen with Disney. They'll just amalgamate everything. So there'll be a few million here and there, whatever, watching it around the world. And to bolster the world population from that, and all the bots watching it as well, obviously, then that'll push it up, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, time's going to tell on all this, everybody. And, oh gosh, we're going to be talking about it here as well. So please come and join us. It's all going to kick off unless they do something in Radio Times or anything like that, where we squeeze in another headlines for you. But we are celebrating this month, May 2024, our first birthday here on the channel. Thank you very much to everybody that's been subscribing and been joining us in all these shows we've been doing. It's been a fantastic year. Absolutely wonderful. We are having a birthday show. It's going to be this Friday as of broadcast, which is the 10th. So, yeah, you can join us on Friday, the 10th of May, live at 7:30, as we ask the question to the Whotastic panel and to you, the Who viewers, as Disney Who begins, is it on life support? That's the big question as we look forward. Oh, I'm so funny sometimes. As we look towards these 8 episodes that are coming out, we're also going to be counting down, of course, on Friday's show, because a few hours after we go off the air, they will be dropping on the iPlayer and outside the UK on Disney+. So come and join us as we celebrate our first birthday here on the channel, live at 7:30 this Friday, as we discuss, is Doctor Who now on life support?
Can you hear the sound? Beep.
That's going to be an interesting one, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for it. All right, here we go then with this story now, everybody. Doctor Who boss on why he carried on Chris Chibnall's arc. Now, of course, this is coming from the radiotimes.com, and it's more or less what Russell has been saying. He's now building the GATWA era on the Timeless Children, the Timeless Child, whatever it was, which a lot of fans, I would say the majority of Doctor Who fans, wanted erased, and which he's not going to do because he's that sort of guy. Let's see what he's got to say about this, shall we? Here we go. Even though it's a new dawn for the long-running science fiction series, returning showrunner Russell T Davies still paid homage to previous showrunner Chris Chibnall and the Timeless Children, a 2020 episode that was written by Chibnall. Chatting to radiotimes.com at the Doctor Who Season 14 premiere, Davies said, "I think the Timeless Child doesn't mean anything to anyone, to a lot of viewers. Genuinely, to a few outside the show, what does it mean? But what it does mean is the Doctor's an orphan. He was abandoned. He was adopted by the Time Lords. So you play that for the emotions." He continued, "I don't want to hang things off science fiction words. That simply won't mean anything around the breakfast table. But if you're talking about a family with a world in which people adopt children or foster children or abandon children, then suddenly it begins to register with you. So that's our take on that. And that's going to have a lot of ammunition and fuel going forward, because it goes merely as Ruby Sunday. She was abandoned as a family on the church doorstep. So you have the Doctor and the companion suddenly chiming with their lives connecting."
Well, why are they calling him the last of the Time Lords then if he's no longer a Time Lord? I don't get that.
this is where we're at.
Yeah.
This is where we're at. Ian.
Not happy, JT. Tell you, seriously, the use of that adoption analogy. You know, she was left in a little cardboard box outside a church. How twee, how very chocolate box. It probably was a chocolate box just to make it more twee. You know, I mean, the majority of adoptions aren't twee and chocolate box like that. They're because the parents are drugged up and abusing the kids. They're either sexually abusing them, farming them out to other people, or they're not feeding them and the kids are going rifling through bins, or they're let down by social services and they're going from foster home to foster home, and it's a shit existence. And you know, I can speak with authority on that, having adopted 2 children myself and been through what is an absolutely bollocks system in this country. It's awful, and it to use the word, it fosters more abuse, to be quite honest. So to see him taking a term like that and sensationalizing it and saying we're gonna take that, and it's offensive on an entirely different level, and I think he's a dick, frankly. And I would love the opportunity to tell him that. And had I known what was coming whilst at that concert last year, I probably would have done, and then got promptly thrown out. But there we are. That's a different story. You can't go back and have that time again, can you? But
well, no, I mean, again, Ian, this is something that you've just mentioned there. You've got experience of going through the system of this and having to deal with the young people. For me, it just seems like another way for him to be able to say, oh, look how aware we are of how the country is today and about the people in the country, and look how caring we are, and aren't we nice people for putting it in this? And I think it's just another false tick boxing exercise, because what the hell does it matter in Doctor Who? He's talking about sitting around the breakfast table, talking about who in the United Kingdom sits around the breakfast table in this day and age, for example. You know, everybody's left, right and centre with people work for a living, Russell, and some people have to work shifts. So in fact, some families, bless them, don't even get to sit down anymore together because they're trying to make ends meet. They're not all getting millions and millions of pounds just for turning up and hammering out a few scripts and going around the world and living the life that you lot lead. It's not as glamorous for the real world. And some of these kids as well aren't going to be interested in what you're peddling out. They're not going to find it relatable. And certainly this whole thing about the Timeless Children, from what I can get, why was that brought in anyway? What was the need to actually revamp the Doctor's history? What's it brought to the show apart from trouble?
Yeah.
They were pompous and arrogant enough to think that they could do better what people like Terence Dicks and Malcolm Holt did. They think they're better than them, so they rewrite it. Simple as that, I think.
But why? I mean, what narrative did it possibly give to the story?
It doesn't give any real narrative to it at all, which is really frustrating, because it just completely turns it on its head and makes it really, it's called Doctor Who. How many times have we got to say this? You don't want to know about it any more than we know, so keep it mysterious. That's the whole point, And I don't get this idea, if he's meant to be the last of the Time Lords, he's not a Time Lord. If he was a timeless child, that wasn't a Time Lord, right? That's not how it works. So why? I mean, he loves all this angst. It's like the Time War thing about the Doctor being sort of being sort of, he's got he's war torn kind of thing, like he was with Eccleston.
The survivor guilt.
Yeah, survivor guilt. But they got rid of that when they put the Doctor into they did the bioregeneration. The Doctor's now in rehabilitation. He's having a rest because he's knackered, and he's been downtrodden, etc. Yeah, you know what I mean. So it's like, why is he now war torn, and he's got the guilt and all that kind of stuff now? Because that's what it is, isn't it? It's just a repeat of Eccleston's guilt from the Time War, isn't it? Really, same thing.
Well, we've mentioned this, haven't we? A lot of this is just repeat. We saw on last night's headlines the phone bit.
Yeah.
The companion. I mean, it's all very similar to Rose, isn't it? It's as though he's just taken the template for everything that made it work in 2004 into 2005 and just copied it, but this time round with his own agendas more blatantly put into it. We shall see if that's the case. Stephen is saying to us here, what does it mean, Russell? It means rewriting the whole mythos of the whole show, which is what you're alluding to there as well, Paul. It is called Doctor Who. And Gemma, lovely to see you, Gemma. My kids are adopted and they hated the Ruby storyline. It just doesn't fit their reality and the trauma. I hate to think what the kids have been through.
But it's like he's trying to understand the perspective of people who are adopted. It's like the disabled thing with Davros. It's like you're not doing your research properly, are you? Really? You know, you're thinking this is the right thing to do. It's just bloody awful, isn't it?
Got to say, Gemma, I share your pain. I'll love to compare notes with you at some point. But mine, who are 17 and 18 now, they looked at it and were just, this is crap. This is absolute crap. It didn't speak to them. And the problem is as well, you know, we thought that, I mean, they were very young. They weren't babies. They weren't space babies. They were 2 and nearly 4 when we got them. But we've always been honest with them. You know, they always knew that they were adopted. Far better than they get a shock bomb when they're in their teens or whatever. So they always knew what they were. But you know, young children are impressionable, and again, we know that is Russell T Davies's target, young children, apart from his mythical demographic. It's what's the right words for it? You could get some children of 6 years old, which is the age bracket he mentions going for in other interviews, who know they're adopted and think that some of the crap that's happening to Ruby Sunday is going to happen to them because children believe the things that they see on the TV, which is why Russell T Davies wants to preach to them. And you're going to have some very, very traumatized kids who, because they're adopted, they're already bloody well traumatized anyway, really badly. Really badly. You know, we are.
That's why you need escapism. That's the whole point of Doctor Who. Maybe escapism, not reminding you of things.
Yeah, totally. And we are still paying and working for and dealing with and working through stuff with ours, even now at the ages they are, of stuff that happened to them when they were 2 or younger. You know, you don't need additional potential trauma through hack writing from a one-trick pony. Adding to that, it's beyond negligent. It's ridiculous. Really makes me cross. Can you tell? Shall I bang my fist? There we are.
The thing about this revival, now him coming back, it begs the question whether 2005 was a fluke, do you think? You know, it's a fluke, you think, maybe?
2005, I don't know if it was a fluke or not, but he was riding on the back of being successful and popular because of what had happened from 1999. Yes, he'd had a couple of missteps, including Bob and Rose, which I personally like, but it didn't set the world on fire. And there was that other thing about the guy that won the lottery in Wales, which I think was broadcast in 2004 with Griff Rhys-Jones. Do you remember? I think it was Griff Rhys-Jones, but that was that. That didn't do anything. So he'd had a couple of those. So Doctor Who was a big thing, obviously, at the time. I don't know if it was a misstep, but it certainly helped him up again, didn't it? It really did. It didn't do any harm at all. But I think he was. I'm sorry if you can hear all this. Sorry if somebody's texting me, stop it, please. It's distracting me. We've got this. I forgot what I was saying now. Yeah, we've got this whole thing about, you know, he's now in that position. We've said it before. No one can stop him because he's come all that way. So this is how restrained he may have been originally, or maybe he's just got more and more involved with the politics around him.
The bizarre thing is, as we said, it's repetition. It's a formula. He's doing the same thing. The structure of the season's the same. No one at Bad Wolf, because they're all there in the first place. Phil, Julie, all that, Jane Tranter, all there. And they never said, this is a bit like Terry Nation. We've had this all before, haven't we? You know, it's like that. So why did no one say anything? You know?
Yeah. Jack is saying to us here, can we please refer to the Doctor as they? I'm finding this gendered language quite offensive. Yeah. And Matt is saying to us here that Ruby Sunday is Rose Tyler Mark III, because Mark II was Rose Noble. But you're right. I mean, the whole thing about this is, well, you know, Kirsty's saying to us here as well, whatever that emoji is in the chat for Ian. And Stephen is saying to us here, using adoption in this sensationalist way is reprehensible.
100%. Yeah,
Mm.
and thank you for the support things in there, and I'll personally extend that to Gemma as well, because if she's got adopted children, then she'll have been through one hell of a lot herself.
Mm.
But it's like, it's really bizarre. He seemed to be trying to champion everything in society. You know, it's like a jack of all trades, master of none kind of idea. You know what I mean? It's really weird.
It is really weird, isn't it? You know, Michael is saying to us here, pompous RTD, more so now, and he's in his 60s, and he's more confident, and he's got the power behind him. That's the other thing I was going to say there, Paul, to your what you were mentioning about in 2004, 2005. It's a real case of he's got that power behind him now. You know, it's that particular thing, as I said last night, that he goes to award shows and people stand up when he goes off on rants that are actually quite inhumane sometimes, and just based on anger and enforcing his decision. He comes off as, and the ones we're talking about, of course, is quite dictatorial. You know, he's so da 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 da. That's the end of it. La 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 la. And they're all going, oh yes, 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 yes. So he takes that on board, doesn't he? And thinks, oh yes, look at me. Everybody in the world agrees with me, and he knows fine well that they don't.
It's just because they want a job. That's the whole thing, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
I think we have to sort of like just accept that in reality, Russell T Davies just doesn't seem to be a very nice man. You know, I think he's just a little bit unpleasant.
It does seem to be saying now, his colours seem to be coming out more and more since last year when he was in production, and the publicity that was coming out for those 3 alleged specials. The Unleashed that Paul's watched, where he's saying things blah blah blah, you know, and all this, and oh, it's vital we do this, and it's great, it's important that we get to the message to the children, we've got to do this, we've got to do this, plus all the stuff that's come out over the last couple of weeks that we've reported on headlines, you know, and now GATWA's coming in on the back of all that, and he's not being corrected in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, these I've said it right from the, you know, for months now. These are not the people we knew producing the show back in 2004 into 2005, because they are now different. They've become powerful. They've become more assured. They're more confident. They're running their industry. They're important in their industry. They've managed to get deals with the likes of Disney and Sony and goodness knows who else. They've spent time in America, which I don't think helped at all personally in the Hollywood circuit, probably. Yeah, it's very odd, isn't it? But I just don't understand why it's so important again. Because from what you guys were telling me, this was all in the Chibnall era as well, where they were trying to make characters out of a modern day social construct. So you were mentioning that one of them had some sort of issue.
Dyspraxia was one.
Yes.
Depression was another.
Yeah.
They covered that again, having done it beautifully in Vincent and the Doctor. They try to do it again in, I think it's Can You Hear Me, the episode was called.
Right, there's the infamous cancer recovery patient as well.
That was the companion, Graham.
Yeah.
Oh, was it companion? Was it right?
That has to be seen to be believed, JT. You won't believe it, even if you just try and describe it to you now. It's unbelievable. It really is. Yeah.
However bad we try and say that came across, we will underplay it.
Yes,
which is
we're quite subtle, you mean, you know,
something for us, because we are absolutely normally very, very subtle and on the money, and don't go off on one at all. But
of course,
I know you hate that era like we all do, and you never watched it. But seek that clip out; you will not believe it. It is
I'd rather not.
Beyond crass.
It was just so unbelievably not the Doctor, not a doctory thing to do at all. It was just bloody. In fact, why it was in there in the first place, who knows? It's just an odd thing to put in. Really, it was.
Well, it's just again, it was probably doing in a weaker version to what Russell's doing now by taking the modern day real world and putting it in Doctor Who, which is missing the point completely. He said in that what we've just read out there, he doesn't want science fiction terms. He wants it to be like EastEnders in a sense, dealing with humanity more than a Time Lord's adventures in time and space with monsters. All I can think about is this is going to be a massive flop, and they're going to have egg on their face in 9 weeks' time. If the timeless child means nothing to anyone, why go on about it? Good point, Dalek. I love you. Yeah. It's a very good point. And why continue it as well? RTD made Doctor Who EastEnders in space, says Richard. Council estates, single parents, boyfriend troubles, sexual intrigues. Where's the sci-fi in that? Exactly. And it's all coming back, isn't it? It's all coming into these next few episodes. Since Chibnall and RTD doesn't want to write Doctor Who, be my guest and go write something else, says Blue Worm. Absolutely. And hello to Glenn, who's joining us. I have a feeling a lot of the Timeless Child things will be ignored, so William Hartnell is still the first Doctor now, but he's keeping the Doctor being an orphan, abandoned by his family. I don't understand why he would keep that, though. I mean, everybody knows that the Doctor's a Time Lord. I mean, he said it himself. Nobody was watching. Well, he hasn't said that exactly, but he said nobody's talking about the Timeless Child. It means nothing to anybody apart from fans, really.
Yeah.
So to the great British public and the majority of fans, the Doctor is a Time Lord, and that's never going to change. And actually, in Britain, the British public do know the Doctor's a Time Lord because he's been around for 60 years as a Time Lord.
The way to make comparison, it's like X, Twitter becoming X, and it's a bit like that. People will constantly say he's a Time Lord, not a timeless child. That's what's going to happen, isn't it? So.
It's not going to. I mean, he's always going to be the Time Lord, and the British public will always refer to Doctor Who as a Time Lord. Even when the show was off air in the 90s, those glorious years I look back on now with such fondness, it was always the Doctor's a Time Lord. When's the Time Lord coming back to BBC One? Or the Time Lord's coming back when that was announced? Paul McGann takes on Time Lord role. You know, Paul Daniels to be the new Time Lord. You know, everybody in Britain knew the Doctor was a Time Lord. That can't be undone now, no matter how much you try. And because nobody was watching it, it's never going to be undone, is it?
No.
Even in the narrative of the series itself, though, even Rassilon knew the Doctor was a Time Lord because he referred to him as such. And if he was the most powerful of all Time Lords, then he's going to know, isn't he? He would have been
Exactly. We've got Blue Worm telling us here, in my mind, RTD had one job, retcon the Timeless Child. It wasn't even a case of doing that, Blue Worm. I've said it before. All he had to do was come back and start writing Doctor Who and ignore everything that had gone on before.
Yeah.
You know, that's all he had to do, but he didn't. And he was getting at fans like us that don't like it and haven't bought into it. He was basically punishing fandom, I think, just as much as Chibnall did. And hello and welcome to Heretic OSJC, who's saying hello all. And look at that Queen cover you've got there as your avatar. Wonderful. Nice to see you. Hopefully you've subscribed and you're joining us. Nice to see you. Were you going to say something, Paul?
I was going to say just about moving on from the Timeless Child. If he'd done that and just ignored it and did proper Doctor Who, like you're saying, he needn't have had it at all. You know, just move on, leave it as it was, forget it. But like the half-human Doctor thing in the TV movie, just move on from that and start again.
Well,
it doesn't need to be referenced at all. You know what I mean?
A lot of people in the chat are actually saying that, like Richard here as an example. If we can ignore the half-human stuff, we can ignore canon-wise the Timeless Child bone. And it is very, very hypocritical because both Moffat and R.T. Davis in the past 20 years have been asked about that. And one or both of them said, oh, let's just forget about that, shall we?
Yeah.
You know, and I can't wait for the day that somebody takes on this show and decides to write Doctor Who again and produce Doctor Who again and says, well, let's just forget about the RTD and Moffat era, shall we? And the Chibnall era, or wherever it came from. Jamie is saying to us, he was last of the Time Lords. It's just a title after all. That still happened despite his childhood. Okay. It's never going to change. In Britain, we know too much about the Doctor and the British public, whether they watch the show or not. It's always going to be the Doctor is a Time Lord. Magic Stew, hello to you. I want to make an anti-RTD Doctor Who parody version spin-off. Anything he makes in canon Doctor Who, I'll rip him too and make it better and darker just to piss off the woke. Well, you go ahead and do that and let us know when you're going to do it. Absolutely, let us know.
There was a fantastic Chibnall parody on YouTube. Do you remember that, Paul?
I do vaguely remember it. Yeah.
Started off skipping into and dancing into the BBC studios and everything, and it was absolutely on the button. I'll dig it out, JT, and I'll send you the link. It was so funny.
Okay, fabulous.
Bang on the nail on the head.
Brilliant. Fans are so clever, though, aren't they? And Heretic OSJC is saying to us, RTD has become the spokesperson for all the marginalized groups and has decided his word is law, and anyone who disagrees isn't welcome. Now, that also includes the people in the alleged marginalized groups, because he's decided to take on the representation in the show, etc., etc., etc. We saw it in the 4 specials there. We're going to be seeing it again now. And yet a lot of people, including myself, are turning around saying, we don't want this. We just want to see Doctor Who. Thank you.
It's just hugely patronising, isn't it? That's the problem.
Yeah, terrible. And the way it's written can be as well, because some of those lines, ugh, you know, it was just excruciating, wasn't it? You can't come up with anything better written than the stories during the classic era, so don't even try to eclipse that, says Blue Worm. Well, I'm never going to get... yeah, I'm never going to question that one, Blue Worm. I totally get that one. So, yeah, so... I don't know. That's where that's coming from. We all know it's happening. We all know it's now in the story. He had that particular job to do and he just ignored it, didn't we? Didn't he? He just couldn't be bothered. Just couldn't be bothered doing that. Ian, it's going to be interesting from your point of view, as it is with Gemma's point of view, and anybody else out there that's in the situation where you've adopted children. Good on you. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in the series, isn't it? And hearing about what you think about how he's written it, because he hasn't got that experience, has he? He doesn't know.
Isn't that how it started in the first place? Wasn't Chibnall adopted, I believe, allegedly? I don't know for a definite fact, but I'd heard he was adopted. That's why I put him there in the first place. So potentially that was from experience, but it's not anymore, is it?
I genuinely don't know. I would have thought that if Chibnall was adopted, he would have probably applied a little bit of thought to it before he did what he did, because it comes across that he applied no thought at all.
Yeah.
And then you could say that for most of his scripts, really, couldn't you?
Yeah.
But it will be.
We're all tired of this thing, and it's still 4 days away from what we've heard. You know, it's just really very odd, isn't it? The whole thing about it. They have been starting, of course, in the last few days, the last week, to publicize Series 1, Series 14, RTDT2, Disney Who 1, whatever you're calling this thing. They have started to publicize it in the UK. We covered some of it last night. It had a Radio Times cover here last week, some articles. Tomorrow, Radio Times and all the other TV listing magazines will have more to feature with it as well. So we'll be looking at all that as we move on through the week. But, of course, Doctor Who seems to be focused an awful lot in the States, in the United States of America, because the TARDIS was seen to have arrived at Disneyland last week. Who saw this? Your Cosmic Joyride waits, of course. This is a version of the police box. Doesn't look right in my eyes, but there you go. Obviously built over there to plans and put out to publicize it. Now, how many people would have walked past this not knowing what the hell it was in Disneyland?
It's the handle on the phone door's the wrong side, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the plans upside. Yeah, it should be on the right hand side because the door hinges that way.
And that's problematic in itself. Isn't Joyride problematic as well? Doesn't that encourage people to steal cars? So what's going on there?
Yeah. I thought that handle was on the right side for Whittaker's box. I thought that's where it was supposed to be.
I'm sure you could have rephrased that better as well.
Very, very
problematic
probably.
in itself. Yes, here we go again.
Yeah. Now, if you are watching us live from New York City, please let us know in the chat. I know some of you that have subscribed to the channel are in New York. And thank you very much for that. But this story now is we're going to be involving New York. You know what's going to come up. But yes, Ncuti and Millie and most of the production crew, I can guarantee you, have been over in the States doing their very best to publicize Doctor Who over there and getting the message to the American public. And we're going to have to wait to see whether or not they've been successful in that. But they have been all over the place, including their appearance on Good Morning America. This picture came from the Mirror via the Instagram from Millie Gibson herself. There they are there. I'm going to be honest with you, everybody. I tried to watch the Good Morning America interview and couldn't. I couldn't do it. I hate all that false, oh, good morning, oh my God. Oh, no. No offense, I can't stand it. I am British. I like a grumpy person in the morning saying, here's your weather, it's bloody raining again. Can't be done with all this falseness that comes through from breakfast shows. You know, I like real reality. However, here we go with the story, which is Doctor Who stars Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson take on New York ahead of the new BBC series. Doctor Who stars Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson headed to New York ahead of the new season of BBC One's the BBC Sci-Fi show to promote their series out later this month. Now, I'm also going to ask you right now, and answer me very shortly, everybody, why just New York? You know, even Capaldi went round the world promoting the series in a whistle-stop tour over a week, didn't he? Must have been exhausted. going to America and Australia and Brazil and London and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, here we go. It's a wonderful town, and Doctor Who stars Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson look wonderfully pleased to pose under a billboard featuring them in New York. The pair were in the US to promote Doctor Who's new season on chat shows, including Good Morning America. The Doctor's latest adventures launched with a double bill landing on BBC iPlayer at midnight on May the 11th, before it airs on BBC One later in the day. Sex Education star Gatwa, 31, first appeared as the Time Lord during the last installment of the 60th anniversary episodes. So there you can see them there. Hasn't he got a big bum?
I thought his trousers like the ones you used to get on the Tom Baker doll in the 70s, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, it's all back in now, you see. All goes round, doesn't it? All
I
goes
was
round.
just thinking at that picture. He does
I'm
look
not
like
a clothes horse myself, obviously, but
Yeah. Well, there they are. This is in front of some fans and press here eventually. Now, they were actually in front. The billboard they were talking about is there. Can you see that just at the top of the picture?
yeah.
That's the billboard they were talking about. So this is what we've heard about Disney Plus money, because this isn't cheap. So Disney Plus has put in a hell of a lot of money. Now, am I right in saying, to those of you in America, are these the Disney Plus invested channels that they're appearing on? Because they keep mentioning Disney Plus in all of this as well. And I know that Disney Plus owns practically everything in the world now, so it wouldn't surprise me if the Good Morning America TV show is on a channel that's owned by Disney and more. But we've got more pictures coming through. We've got these from the Good Morning America. They do this in America, don't they? We don't do this in Britain. They do all these photo shoots and things and have people standing outside a window outside on their Good Morning shows, don't they? I mean, it's 6 o'clock in the morning and people are like, ah, I'll be like, no, what I mean, trying to just get where I'm going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't do that in Britain, do we? No.
No,
We
we
have our
don't.
weekends. No, yes. But I can't believe that. At something like 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, outside the Good Morning America, you got some wild weathermen going up to all these people standing outside to go, hey, what do you think is going on? I'm like, well, that's it's just bizarre,
I
isn't it?
think there was an election photo of David Cameron once, and he was standing outside something, and the photo pictured him just with his head, and it just showed the first 4 letters of the thing, and the first 4 letters said cock. So that was his word saying cock. And David Cameron said, now if you look at that first picture of Ncuti, right at the side of his head, it says ham face.
Which one was that?
The first ham face, right next to
Oh,
his
yes,
face.
there it is there. Oh, dear. Bad time in that one. But that,
Good
I
timing.
wonder if that's a video screen up there. But I want to know. Let's just go to the chat very quickly. If you are in New York, please tell us about this. Oh, look, and here's Med in the morning here from his own breakfast show. Good morning to you. Yes, Disney Plus and ABC are both in the same division of Disney. Isn't that strange, everybody? Isn't that just typical? Actually, so again, approved channels with probably all the same. You're gonna get told the questions beforehand. Nobody's going to surprise you on this one. Lex is also, oh, look at this. Thank you, everybody. GMA, which is Good Morning America, is on ABC Network. Disney owns ABC. Is there anything they don't own?
Yeah.
It's ABC, which is Disney owned. GMA is on ABC, which is, oh my goodness. You're not going to get much variety over there on their television, though, are they? Richard is saying to us, Ncuti's clashing with the carpet. I'm saying nothing on that one, but nice to see you all here. What is Millie wearing? Says Matt the Silent Wee Music King. It looks like a fashion faux pas, does it? Let me go back there as a gay man. I need to investigate this a little bit more. It's okay.
I know it's okay. There's another one she's got wearing a white outfit. It's really, really weird. With Ncuti wearing that big suit. That's a really odd one she's got.
Well, yeah. Well, this was all on the morning, of course, where they went down to the subway. Sorry, no, what do they call it in them? Yeah, it's the subway in America, they call it, isn't it?
Yeah.
They went down to the subway. Yes.
Yeah.
We call it the underground.
Yeah.
Over here.
Other sandwich bars are available. Yeah.
Yeah. You go down to the underground in London, especially, and you'll get a tube. But in New York, you go to the subway and you get a, what do they call it? Train? I don't know. Can't remember. But look at these. Now, if you are in New York, if you're watching us live from New York, have you seen this? Because this is now the infamous Disney Plus paid for, I am assuming, subway train. So there's Ncuti taking his selfie of him with himself on this. Here's him and Millie. I mean, these things, I know they are, what did you call them? They call them these scanning things, aren't they? These, what do they call them? These sticker things they throw on them.
Yeah.
But they are still expensive, aren't they? Here's the inside of one of the carriages. Oh, good grief. Can you imagine? Have you seen this in New York? Have you been on this thing? And is anyone paying a blind bit of attention to it? And then here's this one.
That's my favourite one.
Yeah.
Explain
Everyone's
why.
a critic. Everyone's a critic. The man in the middle is standing in the doorway. Make up your own captions here now. Thank you very much.
Oh dear. Do you know what? Back in the day, I would imagine that would have actually really have happened in the subway trains, you know, just like they did on some of the London ones. But yeah, have you seen this train, whatever you want to call it here, subway tube, whatever you're calling it? Have you seen this one with all the livery on it? Because I just thought it's like over here they did a bus driving around London, which no one took a blind bit of notice for because it was a London bus in London. Guess what they have in London? London buses, thousands of the buggers. So nobody paid any attention. Have you seen this in New York? Is anyone saying?
At least in the UK, people know who Doctor Who is, vaguely. But in America, do they know who that is at all? I mean,
no.
Is Doctor Who written on the bus, on the train? You know, it's like...
Yeah.
I wonder how long it'll take for the train to go off the rails, really, because there's not going to be that many people that know what the bloody hell this is, will there? But it's, I mean, you mentioned earlier, JT, about it's just New York. And I think the only other place that they would probably do it would probably be San Francisco. And I think they've gone there because it's the epicenter. Well, New York. They've gone to New York because it's the epicenter of their kind of politics in America.
Oh, totally. They'll be well at home there. Shooty will be surrounded by
I can't see them doing this in Texas. I can't see them doing this in Texas.
Oh, no.
Really
Is Disney in Texas? I don't know. Matt in the morning is saying to us here, if you look, it's Disney Plus, ABC, ESPN, all owned by Disney. Oh, I get like Russell, no one can stop him. Lisa is saying to us, Disney bought ABC years ago, but might sell some of it off as ABC is losing money hand over fist. Over it. Isn't Disney Plus as well, Lisa? We're hearing that over here an awful lot, that they are in financial concerns. Financial concerns. Yeah. Thank you. Kirsty, our own Kirsty is thinking her outfit is sweet. Her London premiere was nice. The Abbey Road budget, Vivienne Westwood. Yeah. Okay. Garbage is saying subway in America, subway in Scotland, underground tube in London. Any of our New York chums in at the moment saying, have you seen that train? Disney Plus saw several Marvels and Star Wars show get destroyed by negative content before the shows aired. Matt is saying to us, Gatwa, you ruined a perfectly good train. Yeah. Rap, says Magic Stew. It's probably vinyl wrap. And what a waste of money putting it on train. It's Disney Plus you're talking about.
I'm surprised.
It's a load of old rap, if you ask me, to be honest with you.
I'm surprised they don't call them trains anymore. They'll just call them trans, won't they?
Is it? Oh, I don't know. I've
no idea. Catching a trans, because everything's trans now, isn't it?
Divine Dragon is saying to us, I just feel the narcissism. And Med is saying to us, they have been showing trailers in US cinemas previewing the new series on Disney Plus. Yes, and I was saying last night, Med, that I'd gone to see The Fall Guy, and they showed the trailer for Doctor Who before The Fall Guy here in the UK, and it didn't hit me at all. And in fact, one of my friends that I was with went, what the hell? When Gatwa's first line comes out, which is actually later on in the series, but I think we're all going to be going, here it is, here it comes.
Yeah, you can keep your loving, if you ask me. Yeah.
What was telling to us? The others, JT, what the other people in the auditorium? How did they receive it? Was it just people just carry on?
It's just another advert. Another advert. You know, it came in the middle of all the trailers and all the adverts before the trailers for the next film. So I don't think I did have a quick shifty round. Because it's quite a small cinema and everybody, a lovely cinema, but it was quite shifty around. Nobody was batting an eyelid. It was just over their heads. Lisa has got this for us. Those images were staged. Subways there are not even close to clean. Many have homeless everywhere, and the National Guard are everywhere because of the crime. Oh, really? Sorry to hear that. I've been to New York for many, many years. It was a city I always adored and loved and had a lot of fun in. So sorry to hear that it may have gone backwards. Thanks for that, Lisa. Has anyone actually seen it yet? I'm not too sure. Have we ever had a Doctor Who train before? Says Doctor Who 1963. I'm just thinking, if I got paid to design a Doctor Who train, I would put a carriage for all the Doctors, a carriage for all the Dalek designs, etc. The difference with that one, it's a nice idea. You could get away with it in the UK. You can't in America, especially when it's been paid for by Disney Plus, who don't want to acknowledge that the Doctor has had 60 years. Remember, this is series 1. Series 1.
Do you remember during the Queen's Jubilee, and they had those buses going up the mall, and they had pictures of all the Doctors on it? That was fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, the decade buses they were. They were absolutely beautiful. What a lovely surprise.
Yeah.
But they were a lovely surprise for all of us as fans, weren't we? Because on each of the back of the buses, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and even the 90s bus, as well as the new era buses, all the Doctors were on their respective decades. It was absolutely beautiful. Duck Soup Productions is telling us the whole Disney company is bleeding money and have been for years. Can't understand how Bob Iger hangs on to his job. I look at certain things, but I don't know. And Nathan is saying, let the graffiti begin. I wonder how long it is actually there. You know, T-Mat, hello to T-Mat. Nice to see you. Doctor Who 60. Oh, well, he's saying no one in the US would know anything about that, so they show random dude instead. I'm not seeing any of our people that live in New York saying that they've actually been on it or seen it, or if it's had any effect. Gilliam, hello there. Nice to see you. Doctor Who train guest starting in next season's Thomas the Tank. And Kirsty's saying it's probably been defecated already. It probably has. Dalek, I Love You was saying to us, I recently watched the Haunts of 9-1. The costumes would not look out of place on Shooty.
Especially the shoes. Yeah. So.
Especially the shoes. Well, yeah, I mean, that's not all they've been doing. If you are in New York, if you are one of our New York subscribers, because I know you're there, because you've talked to us before, and you have seen this or whatever, let me know. Have you seen it? Have you been on it? Has it had an impact? Do you think? What's your opinion of it? Now, this is something else that he went on last night, apparently. This is a show called Late Night with Seth Meyers. I've never heard of Seth Meyers.
Me neither.
So do forgive me, but I am British. So I've never heard of him at all. But apparently this is one of those lovely shows that they do so well in America. It's a show that's on at late night.
Yeah.
It's been going for decades, as far as I know, that format. And it's always the same thing. And it seems to be from that picture the same thing as well. They always have some sort of backdrop that's the city at night, and they always have a desk. What is it about that? Why do they always have that? I just don't understand that at all.
Jonathan Ross tried to replicate it, didn't he?
Yeah.
As if I'm going to watch Jonathan Ross, please.
And in America, they had James Corden doing something like this, didn't they? And Craig Ferguson and all that kind of stuff.
As if I'm going to watch James Corden. Yeah. I mean, please.
Yeah.
I looked it up on the Tube of Who, this particular thing where this came from. And apparently, Seth Meyers, I'm sorry, Americans, you will probably know him. You will probably know who this guy is, because apparently he's huge over there. And so is this show. Now, he takes over the late night show at the weekends. And it starts around about 10 o'clock, as far as I can see from this. And it's a beloved Saturday Night Live personality and the longest serving anchor on the show's wildly popular Weekend Update. Seth Meyers takes over as host of NBC's Late Night. Is NBC, did Med say that NBC was owned by Disney?
ABC.
Home to A-list celebrities, memorable comedy, and the best in musical talent. So there you go. That's that. That's who he is. Right, we'll throw that down there. So this was his show, Late Night with Seth Meyers. And look who turned up last night. Ta-da! Yes, it's the Queen of Doctor Who himself. It's Ncuti Gatwa. Yay! Round of applause for him.
Is he wearing a flamenco shirt? That's what it looks like.
I don't know. It's like something I would have worn in the mid-90s. I bet it's designer. I bet it costs a fortune. Yeah, but here's Ncuti on this. Now, did any of you see this at all? Because here he is, in that sort of familiar setting. This was promoting the new series. And what they basically talked about was a little bit about the new series, the tube that we've just shown you, and which got a round of applause. You know what these audiences are like over in the States. No disrespect again, but everything. Woo, woo, ah, please grow up. But you've got all this sort of stuff there going on about this. And then they talked about Jonathan Thingy What's It. That's going to be in one of the episodes, which is the Bridgerton type episode.
Yeah,
because apparently he's known in New York. Apparently he's quite big and on that particular set. But that's all they talked about. That was it. It was 15 minutes or something.
I have noticed, I can't remember if they did it on this one, but some of the stuff I've seen, they've mentioned that the Doctor, it's the longest running science fiction series for 60 years, blah, 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 which is a bit confusing if they're trying to sell it as series 1. They have to make their mind up on this, don't they?
There was a bit of contradiction there. Med is telling us here that NBC is owned by Comcast, who owns Sky. So this is interesting. Maybe that's why he only got something like 10 minutes on the show. Because it was trying to reach a different audience or something. But they mentioned Disney twice. And actually, Ncuti Gatwa said there on this, I take it as a live show, thank you to Disney for investing in Doctor Who. Oh, thank you, Disney, he said. And they mentioned it a couple of times that it was on Disney Plus. Did any of you in the States see this? Is this the sort of thing you watch? I don't know. Let us know. Jonathan Groff, that's right, Kirsty. Thank you so much. They did talk about him a little bit. And Ncuti was very, very quick in saying, how much he enjoyed working with him on that particular episode. But again, that's something that they were obviously pushing towards an audience. So does the audience know him in America? Nope, says Lisa. Okay. And no, she didn't watch it either.
the thing that gets me about the whole promotional thing is, even when Doctor Who was popular with Tennant and Matt Smith in America and then Capaldi taking over, when it was popular, it was on BBC America, but it wasn't massive, was it? It wasn't like, that everyone knew what it was. It was just a larger audience than it had before, but not massively statewide, was it really?
No. Well, BBC America wasn't that popular either, was it?
Yeah.
I mean, the idea and premise was good. Setting up a channel called BBC America and showing all the BBC classics, because Americans, as we know, God love them, they love our stuff, or they used to. All the original stuff, the proper British quality. A lot of the Americans took to it and quite liked the humour because it was so refreshing to their own stuff at all times, wasn't it? And so in premise, the idea should have worked, but for some reason, it just didn't work at all, which is why I'm always arguing now that what the BBC should do is bin Disney, bin all that, open the iPlayer and so get people to subscribe from out of the UK to the iPlayer and earn some money. That's your future. Never mind all this partnership and bending the knee to certain mice and stuff like that. It's just ridiculous to be controlled by...
Look out, there's a giant mouse.
Where?
In front of you. Kill it, quick.
No,
get the traps out quickly. Put the traps down now.
I'm a bit worried. You keep telling me that. I'm a bit worried it's ready to take us over.
Ian, it's more convincing than Charles of Chiang, though, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Do you think it's one of those genetically engineered giant mice that the Rani did that ate the Lord President's cat?
Probably. And well done for remembering a question in Who's Master. Duck Super saying, correction, we used to love your stuff. Yes. Yeah, I totally get that as well. I'd like to thank our new Disney overlord, says Jack. And this is interesting from T-Mat. Thank you for this. The US late night shows all have become very lefty, and Mayers and Fallon are really woke. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Thank you. That's enlightening. Thank you for that one. Oh, I miss Joan Rivers. She's what the world needs right now, Joan Rivers. Can you imagine? Because she used to have one of these late night shows back in the day, didn't she?
Yeah.
Made one of her name on that as well, I know. So can you imagine her? She wouldn't be employed now today, would she? God bless her. But, oh, God, I miss her so much in this crazy world. Disney have apparently said, says Garbage, it's a 2-year deal. Yes, that's right. We've covered that on the show. I wonder if that will be it. RTD said he wanted to continue filming Doctor Who non-stop, so the breaks in between series are very small. It's part of the reason they've done the first 2 series back-to-back, because Disney have got the 2-year deal. We've talked about that before here on Headlines. After that, it's anyone's guess. So they stopped filming, I believe, around about June this year, late June, early July, around about that time.
As we said before, I think we're going to... Sorry, GT, sorry. I think that we're going to find out quite soon that it's over. I really do. And I think Neville said a while ago, I think a couple of shows ago, that if this is a massive success, I'll be very, very surprised. But I think we'll find out once they stop filming. We'll find out down the line that Ncuti's leaving next year. Blah blah blah, etc. etc. Doctor Who's left Disney. I bet we do. If they don't, I'll be hugely surprised.
Yeah, they may come to some sort of deal. I mean, we are obviously, just gossiping now, aren't they? But I'm expecting the 2 series that are in the can or just about to be in the can now, and then a year of specials, and then that's it. I can't see it going for much later. Freezer, hello. Sorry, I came in late. Where have you been? How very dull. But it's lovely to see you anyway. Guess what? You've got a whole show to go back and look at. Isn't that exciting? Yeah, but it's lovely to see you, and thank you very much for everybody. Your chats are always brilliant. Poll in the chat says, "Chat, who thinks 2 years is all we get with this lot?" And Limekins, imagine Joan Rivers as a companion. That would have been refreshing. If it's a massive success, says Douglas, they'll renew it in week 1. It depends what they're going to say, isn't it, about what is a success. They're going to be looking at the views on Disney Plus globally. They're going to be looking at the response from the British public here via iPlayer, more than the overnight ratings, more than the 7-day consolidated. These things can be, can't they?
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
It doesn't feel like it's particularly big publicity run, even with this train in New York and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't feel like a massive push to sell it, does it really?
No. Well, no, not at all, really. I mean, it just seems like the token thing they have to do, considering that we knew that it was all going to be, we were told at Christmas, wasn't it, that, they're putting money into the next series and they're going to be putting money into the marketing. I think maybe what they've meant there is that they've been putting the money into the marketing outside the UK, or has it just been in America? If you are watching us from out with the UK and out with the USA, has Disney been promoting this in your country? Can you let us know in the comments box? We'd be very, very grateful if you can let us know that. Freezer, I hope you're okay. He's been saying here, I've been brooding the past hour. Oh, gosh. Driving people to drink. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, so if you're outside the UK, if you're outside the USA, have you seen any Disney Plus activity marketing about the new series of Doctor Who in your country? You can get in touch with us at whosviews1@gmail.com. whosviews1@gmail.com. Let us know. We are very interested. We can incorporate your findings into our future shows. It'd be interesting to know, because we haven't seen anything else. All we've seen is weak stuff here in Britain, and then the stuff we've just shown you from New York and Disneyland. That's it. Wow. I don't know. So if this has been the big game plan,
it's very low key, isn't it?
It is very low key for something that will be a desperate success, and that they're saying is fantastic. But the energy that they're putting into it now is dialed right back from when they were getting very opinionated and shouty about it, isn't it? It's almost like they've realized that they've said a few too many things that they shouldn't have said at all, and perhaps the real world isn't quite like they have in their head. But it's too late now. They've filmed way too much of it.
Well, all of it.
Going to Neville's comment there, just that came up there, I think it'll probably get leaked that it's been cancelled, no doubt.
Well, yeah, I know Russell will want to carry on for various reasons. As we get through this series, we're going to be asking that. We're all going to be talking that. Make sure you are joining us. Lisa is saying to us, there's been not a peep over in Canada so far. Thank God, he.
Lucky you.
Yes.
But strange. And I hear that down in Australia as well. Doctor Who's, no disrespect, from my point of view, Australia's Doctor Who's second home always has been, because it was the nearest to broadcast to us in the UK back in 1963. They took it as soon as Verity got it on the dotted line in 1963. So they got it more or less straight away with us. So that's why all these years later, it's been taken away from its ancestral home. Bit of drama there for you. Put on Disney Plus. Haven't heard anything. And we've got people, of course, on the Whotastic panel. We've got Michael and we've got Mark down in Australia. They aren't reporting anything down there. TARDIS Travels is saying not much advertising the show over here. Not many interviews on radio or TV. So, am I right in saying that all they've been wanting all this time is that elusive American dollar?
Yeah.
I think they'll be lucky to get that though.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Freezer is back to us saying, I thought I was going to like the new era, but then I saw RTD's Davros comments, and then I disliked the new era before it even came out. And that's where it all started, wasn't it? That's where it all went down that way. And it hasn't gone. It's still not going up anyway, shape,
it's
or
still
form.
going down. Yeah, so we pardon the expression.
Yeah. I hear zero word of mouth, says Jack. Amongst real people, nobody I know cares anymore. Exactly. And that's the situation. The British public is certainly not on board with this.
Yeah.
Shame. Duck Soup wants to know, quick question. Am I the only one who can't understand a word of Gatwa's dialogue? No. That Ruby Road thing, I don't know if I mentioned it on our review, but I don't know what accent he was playing with. And even if he was acting, because I was expecting the sort of dialogue I heard on the American show Late Night with Seth Meyers last night, which I could understand. Even on the painful to watch, couldn't watch it after 5 minutes, Good Morning America, there was a different tilt. So what's he doing? We'll be talking about that, won't we, when we watch the episodes, gentlemen?
We will.
Yeah, the thing that keep getting me though at the moment is they keep banging on about the chemistry between Millie and Ncuti. When I've seen these interviews, the press junket stuff they've been doing, it's a bit sort of awkward. And I've still not seen the dynamic really working. Hoping that for them it will, but I'm not holding my breath on that one.
Yeah. Barry's with us saying to us, nothing in New Zealand. Whittaker tanked. It shifted to 11 a.m. Saturdays. Did it?
Wow.
Who the hell was going to watch it then? But that shows you that the network, whatever the network was there, had no faith in it. And sadly, they bought it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a shame. Douglas is asking us, would they want the show to be cancelled on the first gay black doctor, though? Do you think they will cast the throwaway doctor just before cancellation? No, I think the arrogance, Douglas, was carrying them with all this sort of stuff to say, this is the right thing to do. We're bending the knee and we're doing all this, and this is going to be great, and everyone's going to like it, whether they like it or not. But reality is different to ideology, as we all now know. And I don't think it matters who's going to be in that lead. If the stories are not up there and the people don't watch, it's gone.
Yeah.
100%.
Simple as that, isn't it? As ever, thank you so much for everything you're saying to us here. It's always very difficult to keep up with you, but it's absolutely wonderful. Good question from Lisa. If RTD is such a fanboy of the entire run, why is he destroying the entire show? Is he, though? He says he's a fanboy of the original show, but he's quite happy to rewrite it all, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because it's not up to the modern standards.
And defecate all over all of it, yeah.
Yeah. Kirsty's saying there's nothing in Greece. Her fiance is saying he doesn't think they've shown anything after Capaldi.
Well, there you go.
Let's move to Greece. Sounds a great place to live.
It does, doesn't it?
See, the Greece are far more intelligent than people, you know, the show business people give them credit for. You know, they're not going to watch nonsense. They've got lives. You know, they're busy, aren't they? And they're so brilliant when it comes to doing businesses and stuff like that. I don't think many of them got time for silly TV shows.
It is really sad, though, isn't it, what they've done? All that goodwill that was even hanging around after Whittaker with that hope that everything had been put right. And it's all just been shoved back in its face. And it's gone now. It's gone. You know, it was on notice with Whittaker. Whittaker didn't improve, it doubled down. And it was on final notice. And yeah, that's probably when it was on life support. So the plug's probably been well and truly pulled by now.
Oh, well done. Well done, because I'm just going to remind you again that this Friday's birthday show is called Disney Who Begins, but is it on life support? Come and join us live from 7:30 UK time as we discuss that, as we look towards these next few episodes.
Yeah, I think they've already got an episode called Flatline already, haven't they? So,
well, yeah, absolutely. Well, time's going to tell, as a wise man once said. It's all going to come out in the wash. As we move towards our reviews of this new of this new series of Disney Who RTD2 Who Series 14 of new reboot Doctor, whatever you want to call it. It's all.
I said this many times before, and I want to say it again. I never thought it could get any worse than Chibnall's era, but it has got so much worse. It really has.
Let's just see if this actually surprises us, everybody. Let's see what's going to happen. Please make sure you are subscribed, you've rung that bell, and you are joining us for our new series. We'll tell you a little bit more about that coming soon. And finally, here on Heb's Headlines for this evening, have you heard? Ncuti Gatwa is going to be in Madame Two Swords. Well, his waxwork is. Let's see if any of us can spot the difference when it's actually put in there. But here he is. This was the publicity from BBC Studios, again from last week, as they announced that once again, Madame Two Swords will be paying homage to our favourite Time Lord and our favourite British television series by placing the 15th incarnation of the Doctor into the world-famous Madame Two Swords. It will also include, according to BBC Studios, a small experience type thing, which is another way of saying possible exhibition. Now, I had great delight when this was announced on social media just a few short days ago at correcting many of you young ones who got very excited about this, going, oh, this is the first time this has ever happened. It's not, because in 1980, the legend that is, of course, Tom Baker got there first with 2 models of himself. Yabu to you, Gatwa. Here you can see him on the left-hand side with his 4th Doctor Season 18 version. And there on the right-hand side of the man himself is Meglos. This was part of the Madame Two Swords Doctor Who experience that ran from 1980, I think, up until 82. Late 82 to 83, and the waxwork figure itself was in there for quite a while as well. Now, if any of you of a certain age managed to visit this was just a brilliant thing. You got a lovely experience. You got to see the 4th Doctor there with K9 and a TARDIS, a police box TARDIS behind him. It was just the wall, basically. But you also got to see the Naimon, a blue Dalek, the infamous blue Dalek now. You got Lalla Ward as Romana from Full Circle. You got a Sontaran. You got a Fomazy. Remember the Fomazy that was in there as well? A Marshman was in there, if I remember correctly. And it was just brilliant. I remember being thrilled going to see this and walking past this. You had to walk past the Tom Baker and K9 model to get into the actual part of Madame Two Swords as well. So you walked past them here. So everyone, of course, the queue was intense because everybody was stopping with the Tom Baker waxwork.
I remember it being advertised after each episode of season 18, which was great. And that's where you could buy the picture packs as well. Remember that? And then, but it's interesting. I had a great story that apparently Disney were a bit miffed because Tom was leaving and they'd committed to it and he was leaving at the end of the season. I don't think they knew that at the time. That was G&T being very canny, I think. But
well, that was the famous day, wasn't it? Because they'd gone to do those publicity shots that we'd actually just shown you there. So these have all come from the press. If we can get those back up again, these were shots from the press. These are stock images from the press. So I felt for Madame Two Swords now when I look at these things because they'd spent all this money and got all the press round to Madame Two Swords. Tom had turned up, JNT had turned up. They had the waxwork models out. They are cracking pictures, actually. Tom's brilliant at posing with these models. And then Tom and John leave Madame Two Swords. The press all go back to Fleet Street as they would have done in those days. Those two go off to the pub. And then production secretary, I think it was Sarah, managed to find John, because no mobiles in those days, kids, but she knew all the pub numbers.
That was the office.
Yeah. Exactly. She found them, got through to John and said, it's been leaked that Tom's leaving Doctor Who. So the two of them had to rush from the pub to a very quickly assembled press release to say, yes, Tom's leaving. And of course, Two Swords didn't get the press that they were expecting. Some of the papers got the pictures of Tom playing up and saying, oh, the next one's going to be a woman. And they put these pictures in. But I felt for Madame Two Swords, but it didn't affect them because the BBC, as Paul was saying, was plugging it and plugging it and plugging it. Yeah. And it was massively successful. Yeah. It was so successful with queues around the corner to get into Two Swords just to see the Doctor Who experience.
And the thing with Tom was an icon for us as Doctor Who fans. He was a massive star at that point. Everybody loved Tom. Even if you weren't a Doctor Who fan, you loved him as the Doctor. He was fabulous, iconic. Yeah. Did Disney buy Ncuti's wax work to get put in place? Or how did that work?
John wants to know what happened to the Tom Baker waxwork. Well, Madame Two Swords apparently have a policy that none of the heads are thrown out, and they are stored indefinitely in their massive storerooms. So the Meglos and the 4th Doctor heads may still be there. Barry is saying to us, 83, I was 12. It was brilliant. And he was thrilled to see K9. And Jack is saying to us, the Meglos one looked cool. And he was up on a raft looking down with the dodecahedron. And you had to really look up. And as kids, as most of us were back then, it was very striking because it was all quite eerie. Do you remember? It was all sort of quite spooky and darkly lit. And like Doctor Who exhibitions were back then.
Yeah.
I think there was a 13th Doctor one too. I remember seeing it on CBBC, says Freezer. You are right. There was a 13th Doctor one, but it was the poor relation. Louis Tussauds in Blackpool. They don't get on. Yes. And
the black sheep of the family. Yeah. So.
Yes.
It was just,
I don't know if I can say that. Sorry, mate.
It was just a mannequin from Marks and Spencer's with a stupid jumper and pair of trousers with braces stuck on it anyway, wasn't it, really?
Didn't
that goes for Marks and Spencer's, wasn't it?
Yeah. Hanoir 75, hello to you. I saw it in 82 as well. Do they still sculpt at Madame Tussauds, or is it 3D scanning these days? I would imagine it's a mix of both, mate. It'd be very interesting to see if they've done an actual video around that. Because I would be quite interested to see how they managed to do that all these years on, and if the process has changed. Maybe
they're
we should
a bit
keep an eye
like
on
giant character options figures now, aren't they? Really?
Oh, well, yeah, maybe. I think maybe if we keep an eye on Blue Peter as well, because they did do something for Doctor Who with the original one back in the 80s for Blue Peter, and also they did one for John Noakes as well, if you remember. But he had his wax work done, but they might have done something else. So let's all keep our eyes open to see if there's anything coming along. To show how they made it. You're absolutely right. Duck Soup Productions says the Baker Waxworks stood in for Tom in the 5 Doctors PR pics. That's the famous moment, isn't it, really? Yes, you're right. Oh, look, and Garbage is saying to Hanoir, it's the same process. Sorry, Ian?
Liz Sladen wasn't happy, was she?
No, she wasn't. No. Steve, I don't know what you mean by this comment. I thought Yasmin Finney's acting was straight out of Madame Tussauds. Of course,
there's more mobility in wax, to be honest, but it moves a bit more.
Can't comment on that because I never saw it. But Madame Tussauds, of course, featured in Doctor Who and Spearhead from Space. Let us not forget. So, a bit of a relationship that goes back years. Let's just say hello to them. And if you want to send me, can I still get in with my Blue Peter badge? I'd like to know, Madame Tussauds. If you want to leave a comment down there, because I'll be trying. I'm not paying you up. Anyway, here we go. Yes. Oh no. Limekins, apparently Shooty's waxwork will be holding a gammon and touching grass. You're wicked, but we love you. It's absolutely fantastic. So listen, that's it for this evening's headlines. Thank you all so much for joining us. Been fantastic to see you all. Hope you've enjoyed those particular headlines. Yeah, lots coming up for you. We've got the birthday show coming up. I'm going to plug it yet again. That's the one you're looking for. It's up on the channel now for you to like and ring the bell to get a notification of us. Join us from the Whotastic panel here on Who's Views for our first year birthday special, Friday the 10th of May, live from 19:30. That's 7:30 in the evening, UK time. We are going to be asking, is the new series of Doctor Who already on life support? We want all your comments. Any new headlines that break between now and then we'll probably include in that particular show as well, so that everybody can get the feedback. But we're also going to be having some fun in that particular show. So yes. So anyway, to Paul and to Third Doctor Ian, thank you so much again for joining me this evening. Hope you have enjoyed yourselves, and thank you very much for all your contributions.
Very much so.
This evening,
as always.
Oh, it's all go. 4 days to go. 4 days to go until the iPlayer drops. Parts 1 and 2 of this brand new version of Doctor Who, Disney Who, as I'm calling it. We're going to be here on Friday, hours before that happens, and hours before the rest of the world gets it at decent times. So join us then. Oh, and subscribe. Then we are, like and subscribe.
Look at the bright side. There'll be 2 down once we do those ones. Okay.
Well, yes, yes, and that leads me into saying we will be back as well with a brand new series of Who's Views Reviews. That starts on Sunday. Again, it's up on the channel for you now, live from 7:30. And then we'll be looking at The Devil's Chord on Monday, live from 7:30 here at UK time. It's all on the community tab. All the times, are on the community tab here on the channel. So go and have a look at all that. It's all there for you. So you can put it in your diary and come and join us with all your comments. It's been a fantastic show tonight. Until we see you again, which could be very soon. Because don't forget, when they drop a headline, we're going to be here to talk about it. Until then, till we see you again soon, Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for all your support. We'll see you very soon. Take care of yourselves. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.